What's up, K1? We are in week 4 of our B.L.E.S.S series where we're looking at the E in B.L.E.S.S, which stands for eat.
Yeah, so in the biblical text, we are given many examples of how breaking bread together was an expression of acceptance, care, hospitality, and connection. And so today, eating together might not mean the same thing from a cultural perspective, but the heart behind it really is still the same. And it's something that we're called to embrace. Because really what eating with somebody means is it's inviting them into your personal space, to show them that you value them, to offer them a place where they feel welcome and wanted. And it's really a way to provide that tangible space to connect with them and get to know them more. And so, Pastor Dave, I know this is like your jam.
It is my jam.
So talk to us about why you love sharing a meal with people so much, and maybe even some of the fruit that you've seen from being able to do that.
Okay. Well, the first thing I want to say to everyone out there is I understand that God has just wired some people for hospitality.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like the air that they breathe, and that's us. I mean, Kristen and I have been opening our home really since the get-go, and we just love to do it. Now, I have to confess that I may like doing it a little bit more than she does, and I definitely have overcommitted us to hosting things, which, well, let's just say I think I've learned my lesson over the years, Pastor Jenna, but Kristen may not completely agree with that.
I think we might need to check with her on that.
We may have to. But seriously, we love to bless people by cooking and sharing a meal with them in our home. For example, when we first became a part of K1, we invited everyone who was a part of K1 over to our house in groups of 25 to 30 so that we could cook. Well, really, we could cook for you and serve you and get to know you. And the reason why we enjoy doing this is because it's a way that we can simply love you in a tangible way, care for you, and honor you, which I think helps build trust and connection. It seems that, Pastor Jen, it seems that people are more willing to open up in a home environment and ask life questions that they're wrestling with. And I also think that Kristen and I may seem more real to people, which then also causes them to feel comfortable and to open up. And it seems that the conversations in our room, in our home, they just become rich and deep. At least that's been our experience.
Yeah.
But what about you, Pastor Jenna? Do you like hosting people in your home and cooking for them and making scrumptious meals like your white sweet potato kind of dish that you make, which I think it's good?
Well, that's up for debate. Okay, so I will be honest. Okay. This is the one B.L.E.S.S practice that makes me super uncomfortable. Because for whatever reason, this is just something that stretches me in a huge way. So for one, I am not a good cook. Like, really not good. Those white sweet potatoes,
they're good.
Most of the time.
They're good.
But what happens then is the thought of bringing people into my house and like serving them a meal is so stressful for me because I just know I'm gonna mess it up. And I have, like, a lot. So that just is, I don't know, it's like a hurdle for me. The other thing that I will say is that I think in a lot of ways I kind of got swept up in this cultural hospitality as opposed to biblical hospitality, where it's all about like presentation and making things look nice and everything being perfect and all that jazz. And I really do like creating beautiful spaces for people because I think it makes them feel appreciated and valued. But I think the problem happens if I can't do that, then I just don't do it at all.
That's fair.
And that's really a problem. And ultimately, I think I just put too much pressure on it. And what I've realized even through this B.L.E.S.S series is ultimately then all I'm doing is I'm making it about me, not about them. And so that's something that I really need to check myself on. Okay. The other thing that I will say, if I'm just totally showing my cards right now,
please do.
I don't feel like dinner conversation goes as deep as you. So maybe you just have a skill set that I don't have. To me, it feels more like small talk. And that makes me uncomfortable. So then I get in my head and I'm trying to like keep the conversation going. But then again, I'm thinking about me more than the other person. And so these are just real hurdles of mine. But I really want to commit to getting over them because I I do want people to feel valued, and this really is a powerful way to do that. So I'm gonna have to stretch myself on this one.
Yeah, well, another thought on this though, if you don't like having people in your home, you don't feel comfortable with that, is you can do it in other ways. You can break bread with people in other venues, like at a restaurant or a coffee shop. I mean, we also enjoy eating with people at restaurants. I have meals or coffee with people throughout the week, and Kristen and I have dinner with people at least once, if not twice a week. And no matter where someone may be spiritually, it seems that the conversation almost always turns to God at some point, even if the person is an atheist.
Interesting.
A couple of months ago, when I was visiting my dad, I had lunch with one of my former lawyer atheist friends. He's still a friend, but I used to work with him. I don't do that anymore, in Pittsburgh. His name's John, and he turned the conversation to God, which was surprising to me, which then allowed me to plant some seeds about God and made him think and wrestle with them things I don't think he had ever thought about before, which I hope that God uses to move him in a direction and a connection with God.
So it's over a meal that space was kind of created.
Exactly. So my experience is that having a meal with someone can create an environment where they feel freer to chat about life, to ask meaningful life questions, which then may cause them to ask me questions about why I live the way I do, or even to ask me questions about God. I guess that's one of the reasons, Pastor Jenna, why I love sharing a meal with people, because it seems to break down these artificial barriers between us. And then it creates an environment for potential deep and meaningful conversation, which is what I'm all about. I'm not a surface person. I like to get to the deep.
Yeah, me too. And as you say that, you know, it really makes me think, I really do like meeting people for coffee. I don't know, there's something about that just feels like when you meet for coffee, it's like the expectation is we're gonna have conversation.
And you love having deep conversation.
I do love having deep conversation. So I feel like when I meet with people for like coffee, they know we're coming to talk, and so things can go a little bit deeper, and maybe even in that I'm more comfortable in that atmosphere.
So.
And so I'm able to be more present, be able to really listen to them more intentionally. So I appreciate the opportunity to have coffee with somebody and really get to hear what's going on in their life, so that again we can ultimately offer them Jesus in the end of that. So if you want to grab coffee, I'm your girl.
You're the person.
Yeah,
all right,
that's
fair.
me. So, and I just want to circle back to something you said at the very beginning, and that is that we're not all wired the same way, and that I'm not wired the same way you are. So I may not host as people in my home as much as you guys do, but there are ways that I can learn to embrace this practice in a way that can really be fruitful. And so that is what I personally am really going to commit to, again, growing in, to be able to make people feel valued and appreciated and blessed.
Yeah. Well, Pastor Jenna, thank you for just being real and vulnerable. Thank you for sharing that with us, because maybe some of you feel the same way that Pastor Jenna does. And if you do, I just encourage you to step out of your comfort zone in some way and see what happens. Because breaking bread breaks barriers and builds relational bonds with people.
That's good.
That actually may cause someone, Pastor Jenna, to start to follow Jesus, or at least want to know more about this Jesus that we follow. So let me say it again. Breaking bread breaks barriers and builds relational bonds that may cause someone to actually decide to follow Jesus.
It's powerful.
Yeah, just saying. Okay, so your Live It Out challenge this week is to consider one or more of the options on the list provided at the back of your devotional study guide, and think about getting something on the calendar with one of the people that are on your list. And we suggest that you even share that with your group so that they can hold you accountable to actually doing it.
Right? Yeah.
So enjoy your discussion time. We'll see you all next week. Peace out.